in our booming property market as house prices rise.
Michael, he's lost count how many properties he
smart and boast a property
started just a few years ago.
Thank you all so much. I'm Michael from Pinnacle Buyers Agents. Let me go back, I'm moving too far forward. So we are very different, as discussed, from regular buyers agents who simply just go out and, I don't want to oversimplify the job of a buyer's agent, but they go out and they find you, your principal place of residence, because you want 5 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and you want to live in a particular area or a school catchment zone. Whereas I specialize in property investment and making sure that you buy the right type of property that suits your end goals and what you want to achieve. So, before I became a buyer's agent, I was a property investor, and I did that fairly successfully by using a particular strategy, which I'm about to go into. I purchased 14 properties in 12 months, which was a fairly good run. Lending criteria was a bit different back then. So before you all ripped me apart, it was a lot easier to get money, but the strategy was sound. So I'm not here to pitch you all, hey, you're all about to buy 14 properties, I'm gonna go get you to do that, and you're gonna take a lot of risk, because I am a bit of a risk taker, as I'm sure you're aware. I've also bought properties on credit cards, and that's another story. It's a pretty funny one, but it actually works out really well if you know what you're doing. But yeah, so the strategy is the main thing I want everyone to take from it, and that is, actually I'll get to it. I'm jumping ahead. I'm excited about it. So we like to help everyday Australians do the same thing that we have done. Now, based on your risk profile, you may want to buy 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 properties, whatever it may be. You may have an end goal, like you may want to quit your job and you may want to replace that with $1,500 a week passive income, and you want to live off that, or $2,000 a week, or whatever it may be. We help you reverse engineer that and work towards getting to that goal. So yeah, with the help of a financial planner or tax agent. Disclaimer, not a financial advisor. Obviously I get my advice from a financial planner. I've just done this really well, and I execute this for a lot of tax agents and financial planners that send me their clients. Purchased in excess of 400 properties in my career. That's not just a stat where I've been a part of it. Like, I literally, from start to finish, the whole process, I have actually been involved in over 400 purchases, which I only counted that this year. I didn't think it was anything like that, but pretty cool stat nonetheless. So the strategy is what I want everyone to take from this, and that is making sure you're buying under market value. So if something's worth 500,000, we tend to stay away from house and land packages and things like that, because they'd be 600,000 and there'd be a $30,000 commission to the person who sold it to you. Then there'd be a developer's or a builder's margin, and before you know it, that's really a $530,000 property loaded with depreciation benefits that you depreciate over 40 years. We don't really go down that path. We like to go buy an existing home that's 530,000, pay 490, pay 470, pay 480, and instead of being $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 down, and looking to save tax, we'd rather make money straight up and have $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in equity. So that's what we like to do. We like to buy high rental yield. So we want the expenses of the property, so your mortgage, your council rates, your property management fees, to be covered by the rental income on that property. Now, sometimes that's not always the case, especially in a blue chip area. So sometimes we'd have to use strategies with renovations to prop up that yield in that area to sort of make sure that you're covering your expenses, and that's how that sort of works. But there's plenty of areas out there today that I'm buying in, including my most recent purchase, which was a 6.3% yield, and that's a freestanding home 30 minutes to Perth. So we buy all over Australia as well as Brisbane. So buying a growth area, so places that have all the key indicators in place and are showing signs of growth and will have growth as soon as possible, hopefully. We over the next year or two is the way we like to, where we aim for our growth. So you can't just rely on key indicators and growth, you've also got to buy well. So when you combine the lot, sort of all together, it helps speed up your journey from 1 property to 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and so on. So we're not just relying upon buying a property in a down market and that takes forever to grow. We want to buy under market value, so we've already got some instant equity and profit, and then buying it in a growth area or a market that's about to have an upswing in its cycle so that we can capitalize on that. And the X factor. And the X factor is one that I absolutely love. That's my phrase. I just call it an X factor. It's a property that, let's say we buy it as a 2-bedroom and you can put up a wall and make it a 3-bedder. So for the sake of, or the cost of, 5K, 6K, 10K, you add an extra bedroom or you get an extra 50K worth of equity. So a strategy like that. Or we like to buy something that you could subdivide. So a house perfectly located on one side of the block where you don't have to demolish the house to subdivide the rear. So all those types of strategies where, the house is already paid for. The house is already paid for, gotcha. The house is already sort of covering its costs through the rent, but you have an extra sort of X factor where you could do that later on. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be a developer, and that may not be your risk profile, but at least buy a property that has that potential. Whether you go and do it or not, you've got that, different exit strategy if you want to partner with someone or do something like that in future.